I grew up half of my life in Florida and half of my life in Naugatuck. I could kind of consider myself a Naugatuck native. Of course, I went to school over here for 1 year at Cheshire Academy. So when I'd come by here every day, I would look at the building and I wouldn't think too much of it. I mean, it's that ball and socket. I didn't know what they made in there. At that particular time, tool making was as far away from me as the length of a football field. If you're a tool maker, you have to kind of learn many things. Every company is different. If you were to travel around and just go shop to shop, you'd get an education in this business that you would never get out of a book. In the 50s and 60s, you could take the Waterbury Republican, open a page, and there were 2 pages full of tool makers wanted. They were rebuilding Europe at that time, so there was an abundance of work. But it's very diversified. You could be making buttons one day and making hinges the next, and cosmetics the third. I worked in many places, probably 20. I was no genius. I just happened to survive because it was just so much work. I was actually a hinge maker for Homedy Bronson's, and we were unionized. They closed Homedy Bronson's and moved up to Winstead. The union employees were not invited, so I needed a job, and I happened to come by Ball and Socket. There was a sign out in front, tool makers wanted. So as I recall, I think I came in, applied for a job, and they hired me. I was out in the backyard one day. My neighbor, his daughter was up there raking the yard, and I grew up with her. She was a little older than I, but I grew up with all those kids up there. She asked me where I was working, and I said, I just took a job at Ball and Socket in Cheshire. And she said, oh my gosh, she said, that's where I worked as a young girl. And then she told me the story of here, that you had to be from Cheshire and you had to know someone to get a job in here. It was such a great place to work. The tool room was upstairs, and it was a very nice tool room. It had a wooden floor, which was unusual. A little hot in the summertime. There was no air conditioning, but we survived. The group of guys I worked with over here, they were great fellows. They were all very knowledgeable, far more than I, and they were really a great bunch of guys. I had to learn die sinking. I hope there are no die sinkers left around that say I'm wrong. But anyway, die sinking, you take 2 points of a piece of steel, and under tonnage of about 200 ton, which is enclosed in a press, and you keep on pressing those 2 points in until you get an image. After you make your die, you then take a piece of steel with a point on it, and you take the points and you push that into the die that you've already made until you get an impression. That set of tools then is placed in a progressive tool. The metal comes in and you have so many jumps until you make your parts. Most of us all did the same thing. Came in here, we were a great bunch of guys. We did our job. At the end of the day, we went home, and I don't recall any of us ever socializing with one another. And I put in my day's work and raised my family and educated 3 children. Mr. Belter was the owner. He was a very decent man, extremely generous, and very, very good to all the people. Matter of fact, he probably goes down as one of the better fellows I ever worked for. I guess there isn't too much said about this, but it's kind of hard work. I suppose if you look at it like that, you get used to it. What is my job now? I do the same thing right now that I did at Ball and Socket 20 years ago. I'm still doing the same thing. I do a lot of repair work. I work with a great bunch of guys, very, very smart. The young lads today are very talented. They're well-educated, very talented. They're a great bunch of guys to work.